Hello, my dear Franken friends, and welcome to Spookyou, your one-stop shop for all things ghastly and ghoulish. I'm your host, Barnabas Vixen. How horrible of you to join us. Curl up, invite your friends, and by all means, make sure those lights are out. That way it's harder to tell what may or may not be lurking around you. There's nothing like a good mystery, am I right? Tonight will feature a singular tale of devilish design, curated by those wicked weavers of woe. And without further ado, allow me to pass the reins on over to our vivacious voiceover virtuoso, Trey Falco, for tonight's sinister story. Please keep all limbs and side covers at all times. We wouldn't want anything to go missing now, would we?
Hey guys, voiceover virtuoso here. I just wanted to take a second and let you guys know that Allison, she's the actual writer of this post. She is still looking for any advice or any help on this. So if you got a second, you've got any advice, go down to the description of this video, click that link, and just head over there and help her out, all right? I know it would mean a lot to her. Anyways, here's the story. Hi, first time poster here, but I figured this would probably be the best sub to post this on. Honestly, my paranormal experience has been a bit crazy and terrifying, and I'm at the end of my wits with it. I think that a spirit has attached theirself to me, and I'm terrified. To explain what happened a few nights ago, I'm going to have to give some backstory, so I'm sorry in advance if this is a bit long. When I was about 8, we moved into this old rundown house, which I later found out that the entire area used to be a First Nation camp, but there was a huge landslide hundreds of years ago, and so the entire area is pretty much houses and a baseball stadium built over an ancient burial ground. And doors would slam, and my dad was thrown from wall to wall at one point. The basement was terrifying and had a chain lock on it, and while my mother was in the bath, I decided to close the door since it creeped me out, but when I shut it, it slammed back open and hit me in the face, and I had to use all of my strength to close and lock it. And those are just some examples from what happened in that house, and when we moved out, my dad and sister took down drywall in the basement and found satanic symbols all over the walls and an old door which had "Passageway to Hell" written on it. So, turned out the previous tenants were Satan worshippers, and the landlord knew, so we got the hell out of there. I know it sounds insane. It's insane to me too, but I think something attached itself to our family from that house. When I was 11, I was looking for my shoes, and when I opened a cupboard in the basement, I felt someone breathe on my neck and a male voice whispered, "Thank you," in my ear. That same year, my dad and I were in the kitchen at around 1 a.m., and he all of a sudden looks terrified and he's staring at nothing. I've never seen my dad so scared, and the room went cold, and I'm not a religious person, but I started praying that prayer that goes, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be his name, thy kingdom come," etc. And my dad was turned away from me, and I was mouthing the words, so he couldn't have known what I was saying, but he turned around after a few minutes and told me, "I don't know what you said, but it saved us." And he refused to tell me what was there, and to this day refused to talk about it whatsoever. He was crying and shaking, and to this day, I've never seen him react like this to anything. When he got his new apartment after him and my mother split up, I went to stay with him for a few days, and during that time, we would hear weird noises and things would go missing everywhere. We were sitting in his kitchen facing the stove since we heard a noise, and right in front of our eyes, we watched as the salt shaker went flying off the stove. For some reason, nothing paranormal ever happens around my mother, just around myself, my father, and my older sister. Which, I should probably clarify, I'm now 17 and my sister is 26. And like my mom, my 9-year-old brother has not had anything happen to him either. On a side note though, my sister saw a psychic who told her that her dead boyfriend was attached to her, along with something else that felt evil, which is why we came to the conclusion that something has followed us from that house. Sorry, I know I'm getting a bit off track, but it's hard to get all the details down when so much has happened that none of us can explain. When I was 13, my mother, my brother, and I moved in with my mom's old friend. And things kept happening, but now that my dad and sister weren't with me, it only happens to me. Although they're still experiencing their own issues with these things. I was standing in the kitchen home alone when a fork flew across the kitchen and hit the wall, but when I went to see where it fell, there was nothing there. Another time I was lying in bed with what seemed to be sleep paralysis, but something grabbed my ankles and physically started to drag me off my bed. And by the time I could move, I was almost completely falling off the bottom of the bed. And I in no way could have moved myself down there as I had zero control over my limbs. When I was about 15, we moved into our current house, still my mom, my brother, and I, and things were quiet for a while. Every time we move, it seems like things would calm down before resuming, and honestly, my theory is that every time we move, these entities have to find us again. And the first time that something happened in this house, I was standing in the living room and a picture flew across the room and shattered. When my mom and brother are out, someone will play the piano at 3 a.m. sometimes, and I know for a fact that it isn't my cat since it's actual two-handed melodies that last anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. But here's the part that confirmed my theory, at least for me, that something had followed us.
Pardon my ill-timed interruption of this terrible tale, but I've been informed by the powers that be that our narrator has been sucked into a wormhole. While our Neutronian technicians work on fishing him out, quite literally bait and all, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about one of our sponsors, Katarina's Potion Emporium. Whether you're brewing up a powerful love potion to ensnare that special someone, or a potent drought of imminent death, you'll find all the ingredients your shriveled up little heart desires. Don't fancy yourself an apothecary? No worries! Katarina has lined the shelves with her very own concoctions, at affordable rates. And right now, if you scream Spookyou into the cold night air around midnight, you'll receive Katarina's deepest thanks with your first purchase. Hurry now, this deal won't last long. Now I've been told that our narrator is back behind the mic and, mostly, no worse for wear, we return you to your story already in progress.
I was lying in bed trying not to sleep, but I had the light off and my eyes closed from a headache when I felt someone breathing on me and heard a voice whisper, "It's mine." But it was the same voice that spoke to me before when I was 11. I would recognize that anywhere. I freaked out and placed cups of salt in various places in my room, along with different crystals given to me by my mother's Aboriginal friend. Now look, this next part I'm not proud of, and I know it was insanely stupid on my part, but I'm a kid and kids do dumb things. A while after I heard the voice, I went to a bonfire and was drinking. The only coolers in at a max, it was 3, and I was not drunk. So I went to my friend's house to sleep. She's First Nations and communicates with spirits through Ouija boards. Her and my older friend wanted us to use one, and I stupidly agreed. It answered us, and I can't remember what exactly was said, but I do remember her asking it, "Do you like Allison?" myself. And the board said no, and then yes when asked again. But around this time, my chest became very constricted, and I couldn't breathe. I was hyperventilating and crying, and I felt like I couldn't get any air into my lungs, and they told me I was freezing cold, and I do remember shivering a lot, and my pupils weren't responsive. They ended up calling an ambulance who ruled it as a panic attack, but the thing is, while I do experience panic attacks and pretty bad anxiety and depression, my panic attacks are wildly different than that, and I was completely calm with no anxiety whatsoever. So that leads us to what happened a few days ago, and I'm pretty worried that the Ouija board may cause this to get worse. So ever since I put salt in my room, nothing paranormal has happened in my bedroom, and so I began to feel safe in here, which I guess I shouldn't have let myself fall into that false sense of security. I was sitting on my bed. My headboard is against my window, and I have my blinds closed and a blanket over my headboard to ensure no one can look into my room, when I heard something tapping against the window. I heard it for a few minutes, so I turned around and looked out the window, and at first I didn't see anything, but then I saw something pressed up against the glass in the shape of a head. My light was on, so I couldn't make out any features, but it seemed as though they were wearing a hood that was hiding their face from me. I thought someone was trying to break in, so I started screaming and we called 911. The police came over and brought us outside to show that there was no footprints in the snow whatsoever, and plus, my window is too high for someone to be face level with it without a ladder or a chair or something. So, what else could it be than paranormal? I know what I saw. I stared this thing down for at least 10 or 15 seconds as I froze with fear. My mom called her First Nation friend who's going to come and smudge our house in for a few days for us, but other than that, I don't know what else to do. I am terrified, honestly, looking over my shoulder and constantly having to look out my window to make sure nothing else is out there. If anyone has any advice or any idea what is happening, then please, please help. Writing this all out sounds crazy, but I promise it's the truth, every word of it. And I need someone to believe me. So many people in my life think that I'm crazy or imagining things, but my father and sister have gone through this experience with me, and there's no freaking way that we're collectively hallucinating. My sister actually just told me about how when she left her house, her room was perfectly clean, but when she went back home, everything was piled up on the floor and trashed. I just want these things to end, and I don't know what to do.
Welcome back, my darling deviants. Well, tell me, did you enjoy that twisted tale? Of course you did. I knew you had that air about you, that hunger for the horrific and the macabre. So, did we spook you? If not, then file a complaint with our complaint department detailing all accounts of non-spookiness you found in this video, and we'll get back to you in 2 to 3 millennia. Give or take a business eon or two. However, if you've enjoyed what you've just heard this evening, then make sure you leave a like on this video and annihilate that subscribe button. Such a small act of obedience is exactly what we need to put the food on the table around here. There's only so many days we can have refried kidney and toe jam hash before I'm absolutely sick of it. Spoiler alert, that ship sailed long ago. Now, I must bid you adieu. I've many things to take care of, and this outro is eating into my day off. Run along now. Have no fear, we'll be here every Tuesday and Thursday to bring you another terrible tale. Go forth, my ghastly gang, and stay spooky.